walk out.
What's up? What's up? It's Paris and Jason coming at you live on the For the Love of It podcast. So today we have Caroline Sky. She is one of the dopest musicians in the game. I'm telling you, vocals, melodies, everything. She's got it going for her. So we'd like to welcome you, Caroline. How are you doing?
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me. You didn't have to hype me up like that, but I appreciate it. Yeah, same goes to you. I'm so lucky that we got to collaborate on your latest project. It was awesome. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Anytime. So to get it started off, what is the average day like for Caroline Sky?
Well, this last year and a half has been pretty different in terms of like what my routine is like. I mean, I'm in school normally. I'm studying political science. So like normally I'll be in classes for a while and then get home and really do some music stuff and try to like manage that without having a mental breakdown. But this last year has been a lot of music, which has been really awesome, actually. I'm definitely appreciative of like the opportunity to wake up, get to, do my stuff, write some music, and then listen to other people's stuff as well. So, yeah, it's been a lot of downtime, but definitely good for the music grind at this point.
Okay. How much music do you say you take in on a daily basis? Like, is it more so a lot of music you're listening to just for leisure, or do you feel like you're listening to music for like practicing your art, basically?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's definitely a mix of the both. I think like for me, I'm someone who, if I'm not listening to music, like my mind is going a million miles an hour. So like it's nice to be able to have something in the background where I can focus on that. And then a lot of it is like learning from other musicians who are my age. Like I think we're all really lucky to grow up in this era where like there's so much good music out there and so many people are able to put out their stuff. So yeah, it's awesome to be able to like learn from people that are my age too, who are doing really, really cool stuff.
So with that being said, who are you currently listening to?
That's a good question. Wait, I'm going to pull up my Spotify playlist.
Do you think?
Yeah. I'm really into this artist, Amber Mark. She's like R&B soul right now. She's really, really cool. And then I also go to school with a lot of really talented people. Steph Hensley, Maud Latour. I've been really into Remy Wolf recently too. Who's like an up and coming artist. Her tour just sold out and she like just blew up this year, which is awesome. Yeah, I listen to a lot of different stuff, but yeah, those are my big ones right now.
When we first wrote that question down, I was really like thinking people would say a lot of like mainstream stuff, and it's really cool to see that a lot of artists are really out there that we don't know about. When you're looking for, or rather when you're listening to like a new artist, like what is something that lets you stay and lets you re-listen to their music? Is it more of the content? Is it more of the production quality? Like what really gets you for your music?
I think something that really gets me is like the songwriting quality. Like if you're setting up, like in the verses, you're setting up a scenario and then the last line of the verse is like a punchline. Like if you're able to be the storyteller while you're also like doing like amazing production and like really creative like storytelling, that's something that really stands out to me. Just because that's how I grew up singing like folk music where it's all about the story. It's not so much about like the production. It's very stripped down. So I think that's something that I'm really gravitating towards right now is like, can you tell a story? Can you say something different than what's been said before?
That's great. So we know that recently the country's had COVID and that stalled so much. How were you able to navigate, and did it stunt anything that you had planned? Did it help anything? Did you have to think out the box? And really, what was your game plan and what changed during COVID?
I think something for me is like, it definitely made me realize that I'm not like a content creator. I'm not like I don't have a great time doing social media. It's not like fun or engaging for me. I really like am a performer and I love like being able to like be in a crowd and connect with people and like share this like musical experience and vibe with like hundreds of people. I think that is what music is about for me. So I definitely learned that over COVID, that like the TikTok stuff, the Instagram stuff is just not like fulfilling on like a spiritual level at all. So I'm super excited to kind of get back to New York and really get back into performing. And like the connection part is what makes, you know, music so amazing. So definitely excited about that.
Yeah, like I'm not even gonna lie to you. A lot of the internet stuff I really feel like is I didn't keep up with, even though I'm not 24, and I feel like TikTok, even Snapchat now, even Instagram, it's just really hard to like get up with. Like, what social media do you like? Like that doesn't drain you, but I feel like they all do.
Yeah, I honestly hate social media. I think all of it is like it's just not like authentic. It's so tough to like be your authentic self when it's like just little snapshots and 60-second videos and 15-second clips and like pictures that like people are face tuning. Like it's not authentic. It's not real. And I think that's my beef with like social media in general, is that it doesn't allow people the space to be themselves. Because when they get judged and they get harassed, and you get like mean DMs and all that shit. So yeah, I hate TikTok. I'm on TikTok. I hate it. My 380 followers, like shout out to you, but
Shout out to y'all.
So let's start with a young Caroline. When you first knew you got into music, what really gravitated you towards it, and what got you into thinking like, you know what, being an artist is for me?
I started singing in church when I was really young, and I got lucky that I went to a church where like the majority of the music was like gospel stuff. So I think I was exposed at an early age to like, this is the magic that you can create when people are together experiencing the same musical experience, you know, when people are in community. So yeah, I grew up singing in church, and then I started doing like classical music when I was younger. So I got to perform at like Davies Symphony Hall, and I got to be in the San Francisco Opera. So I was a choir kid. And then I started doing that and started doing my own stuff, which I'm very glad that I did. But yeah, I grew up in music, was always around in the house. My dad is a musician. If you ask him about it, he'll really hype himself up. But yeah, he was in a band in the 80s. And yeah, music was always around. So I was a lucky kid. I got to do it a bunch.
No, that's cool. That's what's up. I feel like having parents that also do like the dreams you want to do like helps like tremendously. Like if I were to tell my parents, hey, I want to do like entertainment and I want to do writing, it's kind of different because they didn't have that like kind of background. But I'm glad you got that support. Like, do you feel like that they constantly like support you like to this day, or do you kind of feel like, you know, like what's your take on it?
Yeah, I'm really lucky. My parents are amazing. I mean, my mom isn't musical necessarily, but she's a very supportive individual. Like that's just kind of her character. Is she was like, you know what, I don't really get it, but like go for it. It's making you super happy. Kind of like go on to your thing. Yeah, so my parents were super supportive, I got really lucky. Like I know a bunch of musician friends whose, you know, their parents are constantly pressuring them to like change career paths or do something that's like a quote unquote real job and like make real steps in the world. But I'm like, what does that even mean? Like if this is fulfilling to you, like what, you're not going to be on your deathbed when you're 80 being like, oh, I really regretted following my passions. You're going to be on your deathbed being like, oh, I wish I'd stuck with my passions and like done what I was meant to do in the world. So that's kind of the attitude that I have. And I think my parents kind of are more on that vein too. So yeah.
That's what's up. So what would you say like inspires you and keeps you going?
Honestly, just like the ability to, I don't know. I mean, I love listening to music. I love going to concerts and like being in the audience and like sharing, because it's honestly like an energy that you can feel in the audience of like, wow, we're really in this together. And yeah, being able to connect with people, honestly, is like my number one thing. I work at this camp that I actually just came back from called Camp Jabberwocky, and it's for people with disabilities. And a lot of these people are like nonverbal. They have very limited mobility. and you'll play music and like their faces will light up and suddenly they'll be super engaged and you're able to connect on a level that you weren't able to before. So stuff like that, experiences like that, where it shows like how powerful that connection is, like that's what really keeps me going and really inspires me on days where I'm like, oh man, I'm not making the progress I wanted to. Yeah, those type of experiences really keep me going.
Okay. So what do you mean by like the progress you want to, like what is progress to you in like in the music industry?
That's a good question. I think it's tough. Like we're living in this era where like your success is so like numerical, like how many views, how many followers, like what are the metrics, you know, like how many people are sharing your stuff, like it's so like quantitative. And so if you're not like if you're not meeting those marks, it can be really discouraging. And I've definitely experienced that. Like it's been an isolating year. Like I've been by myself. I stopped going to school for a year just so I could, you know, focus on like, you know, my music and kind of just riding through the pandemic. But yeah, it's definitely can be frustrating. I'm sure you guys both experienced that. Like, am I not doing enough? But yeah, those experiences where like you're able to connect in a really pure way, where it's like all about the music, that's what keeps me grounded personally, not the numbers.
Yeah, and I know that numbers like play like a really like heavy weight because everything is all algorithm nowadays. It's all about catching on to the right wave, trying to get viral, trying to, you know, like do it all at the same time, like get famous overnight. But
Right.
that is, if you were to get famous overnight, right? This is completely mystical dreamland. Famous overnight, you could do almost anything. What's on your top list? What are you gonna do?
Oh shit. I mean, I would love to collaborate with like all of my idols. I think that would be just like the coolest thing ever. Like if I would love to like be on a track with Daniel Caesar. Like that would be amazing.
Wow. Okay. Daniel Caesar fan.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to just be able to like really connect with musicians that I've like listened to, and you know, you're singing the harmonies in your head and you're singing it while you're blasting it in your car, but like it's not the same as being with those people. So, and I would love to do like a huge tour, like global tour, like a really stacked band, and like make all my musical dreams come true with like how I want to arrange my music. So yeah, I mean, that's a pipe dream at this point, but we're going to make it happen. I believe in it.
We're going to put it in the air, in fruition.
Exactly.
Dang, so what, let me see. I got to pull up my notes real quick. What is a message that you try to give to fans when you're writing a song, you're thinking of what you're going to do musically? What is something that you like try to think about expressing?
Honestly, a really big theme in like my original stuff, and a lot of it is like centered towards women too, because like it's really tough. I feel like I know all my friends who have just been kind of had really horrible experiences, and you know, to my guy friends too, but I'm writing from a female perspective, obviously. But it's really, my music tends to be about like show up and like defend your worth, and like that's really what it's about. Like, don't take treatment that like is not good for you. And I think that's a universal message, is we're so pressured to like be in situations because they look good from the outside and it's what you're supposed to be doing. But like, if you're not defending your worth and like your value, then it's not a situation that you should be in. So I think that's kind of a universal message that a lot of my music is about.
No, that's a good message. I feel like a lot of, like, personally, what's like wrong with my own life, we're not gonna get into it because it's just a podcast, is just really trying to be myself in like every situation, but trying to figure out what that really is. Like, I'd be like, okay, like, I'm around these group of friends. Like today, I'm just kind of Jason, or I'm around like this like set of students. I'm just kind of Jason. Like, how do you know when it's time to be like your kind of like airline?
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think we all put on different masks around different people depending on the situation we're in, just because like it's how we get through, it's how we get by, and it's how we like, you know, preserve our sense of self. It's if you're in a new situation with a bunch of different people, it's tough to be yourself sometimes, because like that vulnerability could get very easily criticized. And so for me, I think, I don't know, it's just about like, life is really short and I'm not going to compromise myself for the benefit of other people. And I think everyone should live their lives that way, even though it's a lot easier said than done. I say that and then, things might be
Everyone says that. So it's easier said than done. Has there ever been a time where like you've been yourself and you feel like it paid off like really well? Like, I'm glad I decided to be like true to myself instead of doing another thing.
I think especially when I went to college, that definitely played out. Like, I went to a very small high school where like you are meant to be a certain type of way, and if you're not that, then like get out. So it was a very like exclusive kind of toxic environment. And then I moved to New York City where like everyone is themselves. And honestly, the most freeing thing to realize is that no one am I allowed to swear? I feel really bad.
Say what?
I mean, you ever got like 3 down the line already?
No, I realize I've done it, but like no one gives a shit about you. Like, and it's such a freeing thing. It's like, no one cares. It's amazing. No one cares. Like, there's always going to be someone doing something weirder than you, doing something more embarrassing than you, like looking a way that you would never want to look. And it's like, it makes all of your like internal problems kind of pale in comparison, because there's always going to be some person like looking weird on the street. No one's looking at you and analyzing you. Yeah. So that was a really great thing for me to realize, I think, like moving to a city where there are a gajillion people and you're just one. So no one has the time to think about you.
I like that.
So would you say like moving to New York and moving around and really traveling out of your hometown, you think that expanded your vision and view on music and just the industry, I would say, for that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm from the Bay Area originally, so there's a pretty good music scene there, but it's definitely not anything like New York City. Yeah, and it's been really awesome too, because not only have I been able to connect with like very, very talented like instrumentalists, musicians, songwriters, I'm also being like continuously challenged by like other people in my peer group who are really grinding and who are really like doing their thing and chasing it and having a lot of success. So it's really cool to like be just challenged and like exposed to a bunch of people who have been working hard their entire life, just like I have. But yeah, it's been great to see how incredible my peer group is. Yeah.
You keep in like constant contact with your peers who are like making music right now?
Mm-hmm.
What's the last piece of good advice that you gave them that you'd like to share with our audience?
Oh, that's a good. Well, I was talking to my the drummer in my band actually called me and asked me about like songwriting advice. And it's funny because when you're asked to give advice to other people, you end up usually giving the advice that you need to hear yourself. So he was asking me about songwriting, and I was like, stop trying so hard. Like, creativity comes when you're literally just like trying to be like the conduit from like the greater like creative field, and like it just will come to you and you'll be able to like interpret it and put it into like an auditory experience. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that like I also needed to tell myself was like, if you're in a rut and you have writer's block and you can't figure out what the song is supposed to sound like, where you are, it can be a very scary thing, because suddenly you start to question yourself and you say like, oh, maybe I've written all the songs I'm ever going to write and maybe nothing else is going to come to me. But if you kind of just sit back and relax and like let the idea come to you instead of chasing an idea, that's been a very helpful piece of advice for me.
So speaking of that, what would you say your creative process is like? Are you someone that writes the melodies first, the lyrics first, or what does Caroline Sky do?
A lot of it is like, I tend to pretend like I'm listening to the radio. Like the shower is a great time. Also like going on a run or kind of just like getting away from like the process of, oh, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to take out my guitar or my keyboard and I'm going to write a song. Like, I kind of like to just see what comes. So yeah, something that's been helpful for me is like pretending that I'm listening to like a top 40 radio station. Like what do I want to be singing along with? That's been super helpful. But in general, I'll like mess around with the chord progression and then start saying like gibberish over it and like different melodic ideas, and then I'll write lyrics that fit with it. But it's different every time. I haven't come up with a formula, so if you have any ideas, let me know.
Well, what it sounds like to me is that you visualize something that you already want to hear already. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like you're just like, okay, like I'm making everything natural. Everything about the process is natural, even the way I'm writing it down. Like it's not super like distinct from my regular life because you make music that like stems from your regular life. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
I, I really do like the way that you write music because it's also the same way how I do my homework. Like I don't really sit down and do it. I like, I'm watching TV, get a little inspired. I might write something down a little bit. It's not as like complete as like a song is, or like ever like done or hand in, but I kind of get the idea of how you write. So
Yeah, you gotta let it come to you.
yeah.
So I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but coming from a musical home and a musical background, what influences did that play on you? Like, was there someone that you listened to growing up that you were like, oh my gosh, I love their sound, and that inspired your music?
Yeah, I listened. So it's funny because the music I listened to when I was growing up is very different than like the stuff that I listen to or sound like now. I listened to a lot of like old school folk music when I was a kid. So I would listen to like James Taylor and Carole King and Joni Mitchell. Um, and that was how I learned how to play guitar too, was like playing along with like those old folk songs with finger picking, and like they're all about, they're love songs. So that definitely influenced me, but I've kind of branched away from that a little bit more into like the pop R&B space instead of like the folk sphere. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. But yeah, I listened to a lot of folk music growing up.
So this is a little bit of a side note. When you tell people that you make music or that you sing, how badly do you hate the question, can you sing something for us right now?
Horrible.
Be careful how you answer this because this could lead to something else.
Oh God, no! It's, you know what? It's fine. I've gotten used to it. My parents, from the beginning of my life, were like, "Just sing." Like I'd be at the grocery store, like I'd be at Safeway, and they'd be like, "Can you sing for this nice random old lady?" And I'd be like, "I mean, I guess I'm 5. What choice do I have?" So,
That's true.
yeah, I've grown up doing it. My parents, it's like I'm their party trick. So they've made that opportunity happen many, many times, and in many different situations.
Have you ever
Okay, well, I'm not going to do that to you.
Appreciate it.
do you have any funny stories of someone asking you to sing and something just happened?
Well, I actually sang in front of this pharmacy in my grandparents' neighborhood, and my dad had like this little travel guitar on him that he had just rented from a music store, and I just started singing. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and my grandparents live in like a wealthy area, so I made like $300 in like 20 minutes just from all of these drunk people like coming down from the bar that was like down the street. um yeah, and then another one was I wasn't old enough to sing in a bar yet, and I had a friend or a family friend who had a set there, and so he was like, okay, you can't actually come in the bar, so just stand on the sidewalk. And he looped the mic out, so I was standing, like they opened the door and I was standing on the sidewalk like 6 inches outside of the bar. And then I had friends that were like walking down the street and they're like, what the hell is she doing? Like, just looked from the outside like I was just, standing outside of a bar with a microphone at age 9. So yeah, I have some funny, weird stories, but I think that's kind of just like being in the music scene. You're in weird situations a lot of the time. I'm sure you guys have had similar experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, but I bet it makes you really flexible though. Like you're really good at thinking on your toes. That's a skill that comes in handy a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Always ready to perform.
Yeah.
So, like, have you had any positive and negatives about the music industry so far? Like anything that you found out that you just really love, or just they're like, oh, I could care less about that.
Yeah. I mean, for better or for worse, I've been on 2 like reality music shows. So I was on The Voice when I was 16, and then this past year I was on American Idol. And I think those experiences kind of embody like the best and the worst of the music industry. Like you get to work with incredible people. I got to work with like Alicia Keys and Celine Dion and Gwen Stefani and, you know, Katy Perry and Lionel Richie and like all these big people. And then on the other end of it is like, you're in this environment where like you are the commodity and like you are the product. And so you have to be okay with like being marketed and being like put out into the world so as to like sell the show. So I think there's like the highs and lows of those 2 experiences were kind of like, they were very, they very much embodied the best and worst of the music industry. It's like, you can have cool experiences, but like, get ready to pay the price for it. So, yeah.
Okay. How much into the industry do you feel like your career, or scratch that, how much into the industry do you want your career to take you?
I mean, all I want kind of from my music career is to be able to like make a living by like touring and playing shows and recording music. Like that's really all I want. Because like music it's really all I can see myself doing. Like I'm in college for political science, but like my heart and soul belongs to like music. And I know that I can't live my life without doing it. So as long as I'm able to have that be a part of my life, I think I'll be set. Obviously I would love to, you know, be playing Madison Square Garden, but we're not there yet. So yeah, but yeah, the industry can get really dirty and it can get really ugly. So I'm hoping to kind of avoid those parts of it, but I know that at a certain point they're kind of like, you can't really escape from that.
So you were touching on it. Which one do you like more? Do you like writing songs more or performing?
Oh, I think performing for sure. Yeah, there's so much energy that comes with it too, and you just get to like communicate with the crowd in a totally different way. Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, there's nothing else I'd rather do. Yeah, performing for sure. I mean, writing songs is awesome, but the performance is like I don't know, like the emotional payoff for me.
No, that's cool. Do you have like a performance ritual that you do, or like something that you do for every show? Good luck charms, or how do you get ready for the show?
Honestly, I just take a deep breath and like just go for it. If I think about it too much, it freaks me out. So to avoid the stage fright, I just kind of go for it. I know some people like they'll take a shot right before, but I started performing when I was like 7 or 8, so that hasn't been a consistent part of my routine.
Hopefully, yeah.
For real. So you touched on going to school for political science. There's been a lot of movements lately, a lot of great groups that are stepping up and making great strides. Are there any groups that you just want to shout out or that you really, really ride with and support?
Yeah, I mean, there's a variety of like social justice issues that I've been, you know, fundraising for, doing benefit concerts for a really long time. Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many. I don't know if you want specific like organizations to like crowd.
What name? Shout them out.
Sure. So this is just a local one for me, but in San Francisco, Glide Memorial Church is the biggest provider of HIV care and domestic violence care to majority homeless populations. And they also do like a ton of work within the community to reduce violence, to feed people who have been, you know, systemically oppressed and underserved by our community and by our local government and by the larger government in general. So yeah, that's a cause that I've fundraised for before. But I think the thing with poli-sci is like you learn you learn in very like stark terms, like who the government has worked for and who the government has worked against for the entire time that it's been in place. So yeah, I mean, it's no secret that like Black and brown people in this country have been marginalized for hundreds of years, LGBT people, women, so, you know, indigenous communities. So that's kind of the work that academically I've been focused on. And then it's cool to be able to like bridge that into music too, and like fundraise for those causes. Yeah, so there's my long answer to that question.
Was there any like statistic studying that just opened your eyes, like, wow, I didn't realize how bad that group had it, or I didn't realize this or that happened to that extent in our history?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the most jarring facts for me was that Black women couldn't vote in certain areas until like 1975, which is crazy. You hear like, oh, it was 1918, but no, it was 1918 for white women. It was not 1918 for Black women. The thing about like sundown towns are still existing. Like, I think it's there's so many different ways to dive into that because we live in such a big country. But I grew up in a very sheltered majority white community where, you know, 20 miles away from me in Marin City, it was a majority Black community. And the differences in education, the differences in social services, in wealth, in health too, like the asthma rates in that county versus our majority white county was like a huge difference. So for me, it's been interesting to kind of like examine the history behind that and then look at how it's showing up today and take, you know, as much action as I can to like do something about that. And if I'm able to do it through benefit concerts and stuff, if that's the best way to raise money, which so far it has been for me, then yeah, that's what I've been doing.
We don't have to like really like delve into it, but you basically just said that politics is affecting my asthma. I got politics in my lungs, is what you're telling me. That like even down to my biology is how deep politics affects people. That's not okay. I have to go think about that one later.
Yeah, in New York too, there's this study that came out, and I just learned about this because I'm moving back there. I go to school like right on the border between Morningside Heights and Harlem, and it's 31 degrees hotter in Harlem than it is in Central Park West. Like even the environmental factors of you know, climate change is going to be affecting all of us more and more as time rolls on, but it's going to affect certain communities a whole lot more than others. And that's just because like the air quality is worse because they have less trees in Harlem than they do in these rich white communities that can afford like this massive landscaping operation. Yeah, it's where, you know, factories are that are emitting CO2 into majority Black neighborhoods that are also influencing like maternal health that they pass on to their children. So it's like environmental impacts that are being generationally passed on. So yeah, there's my nerd out. There's my thesis right there. But
no, you blew my mind. This makes me a little unsettled, but I'm glad I know this.
Sorry, not to be a downer and bring that into this lovely podcast.
No. It's all about the truth. You feel me? It's all from the heart. And sometimes there's some scary shit happening around our heart, like politics.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's good to know. I think the range and the palette of all these topics that you're educated about is really, really dope because I don't know. I feel like our generation and everyone coming up right now just has the opportunity to study all these different things at our fingertips, and we can do almost anything we want. So for someone to take their time to not only focus on pursuing their dreams in music, to be educated as well, like I just gotta give it up to you for that.
Yeah, we gotta give it up. Well, I would clap, but I'm holding my phone.
I'm doing for the both of us.
I mean, yeah, it's cool because I'm surrounded by a lot of incredible people who are doing a lot more incredible work than I am. So it's amazing to be around that sort of peer group who are just incredible human beings. Yeah.
Okay. So changing up. Oh, go for it, Paris.
So each episode we have a little segment. It is basically like either or, this or that. It's going to lighten the mood up from that topic. And it's really just for everyone out there to know, like, okay, what would you choose if you were given this scenario? So we're gonna give you about 12 or 15 different topics, and you're just gonna have to choose this or that. You could add on to it and say why you picked that, but it's up to you. So, dog or cat?
Oh, dog.
Dog.
Okay.
I have a
Cold.
golden retriever in my house right now.
Hey.
He's adorable.
Okay. Hot temperatures or cold temperatures?
Hot.
Hot. Okay.
I don't do well in the cold. I'm from California.
Fair enough.
Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Okay.
Would you rather calling someone or texting them?
I like to talk to people on the phone. Maybe that's weird, but yeah, I'm a caller.
Okay. Athletic. Oh, go for it, Paris.
This is the last one. Interviews or podcasts? And then you.
I feel like I have to say podcast, right?
You do have to say podcast. That was a trick question. Okay. Athletic wear or very like formal wear? Like, what do you want to be? Comfy or pretty?
I'm wearing leggings, right? Yeah, I'm always in athletic wear.
Okay. When you go out, hang out with your friends, are you responsibly under the influence or sober?
I'm so responsibly under the influence. Emphasis on responsibly.
Always responsibly. You preach responsibility from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, your responsible drug of choice. Do you like a light beverage or do you like a light plant when it's legal?
I enjoy legal plants only when they're legal.
Yeah.
No illegal shit going on here.
Same. Okay. You have to have a actually, let me not even restate this. You can go on a worldwide tour, or you can have the greatest show with your top favorite artists.
Oh man, that's so tough. I would say a worldwide tour though. I've just been cooped up this year. I'm gonna say worldwide tour.
Understandable. We'll be there too. Just
Okay.
let us know.
So are you pop or indie?
I feel like I mean I'll say indie. Some of my music is like more pop oriented, but I'm not signed. I'm gonna say indie.
Okay.
Newer music or older music?
Ooh, older music. Yeah.
Okay, this is gonna be the last one. Me or Paris?
Ah!
I'm joking. You can't answer that one.
But
That's a bad trick question. I can't choose.
It was a bad trick. We're gonna work on that one.
But dang.
Yeah. So before we like wrap things up, we're gonna like throw a couple more questions your way just to really like solidify like you as a person. When you need support, who's your go-to person?
You know what? My little sister, 100%. She's 18, but she is so much smarter than the majority of the people I know. So I always give her a call. Shout out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Shout out to her. Okay. Anything is coming up soon in the future that we should be on the lookout for?
I have 2 shows in New York City when I come back. Actually 3. The 9th at the Rockwood Music Hall, the 20th, and the 18th. Those last 2 shows are with So Far Sound, so the location is secret, but the tickets should be available soon.
Hey, and this is like one of the big questions that I I have to ask, how do you feel the internet has affected music?
That's a really good question. That's a really good one. I think in a lot of ways, like it's super cool that like success is like really democratized now. Like we all have a chance at it. Like with, TikTok is basically like the internet lottery. Like you could go viral. All it takes is one video. On the other hand, I think it also like tends to prioritize, I don't know, people who are good at social media as opposed to like people who are really talented musicians. And I'm not, putting myself in or out of that equation, but like I know so many of my friends who are like world class musicians, like best I've ever heard. And, they have 300 followers on Instagram and no, they're not, achieving any sort of like internet fame and success, which is how we're all, making our money and getting brand deals now. So, yeah, I think it's really tough. I think it's a double-edged sword. So you have opportunity for success, but also if you're not good at social media, it's a huge detriment and it's really impossible to like succeed without that aspect.
What have you been doing to help close that gap between talent and like meticulous internet skills as an artist?
I've done a lot of collaborating the past couple months with artists that either like don't really have a lot of social media presence, and then in the opposite direction, like I'm not a huge deal on the internet either. So trying to kind of like network in both directions just so we can all help each other out.
Yeah. Okay.
So what is a message that you want to give your fans? Like someone watching this, someone that's like, oh my God, I love Caroline Scott. She's a beast. What's something that you want to say to them? And what's something you want to say to someone that's an aspiring musician that's trying to get into the industry, someone trying to get on American Idol, someone trying to get on The Voice, and someone that's like, please, I just need some guidance. What should I do?
I mean, I think honestly, the two pieces of advice for like both of those situations would be to use your support system and like take a lot of time and care into like establishing a good network, because not only are you going to be better for it, you're also going to be able to help each other out and you kind of are able to rise together. And then the main piece of advice that like I try to follow as well is like do what you can with what you got. So like if you're really good at songwriting, push your songwriting. Like don't try to be someone else. Like there is enough room in the music industry for everybody who wants to be in it. So I think there's so much effort that's put into like, okay, how can I like be like on brand with this new trend that's happening? And how can I like follow this? Like I know when Adele came out, every single girl in my middle school started trying to sing like Adele. And that was a really big thing. And it's just like, she is Adele and she has success because of how she is unique in herself. So yeah, I think that motto is kind of like universal. Do what you can with what you got.
Okay. If pretend you are yourself 10 years in the future, what's an advice you would give to yourself right now as your future self?
Probably that like oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say advice or a congratulations, like congratulations, you did this too. So actually do both. Advise yourself and congratulate yourself as yourself 10 years in the future.
I think probably the advice would be like, you're never gonna regret working hard. So I think there's so much fear of failure of like, oh, if I don't get this, deliverable from this work, then like the work wasn't worth it. But you're never going to regret giving your all to something. You're only going to regret not doing that. And in 10 years, I mean, I hope to say congratulations for the Grammy, but we'll see how that works out.
All right, well, 10 years, congratulations for the Grammy. I'm going to say it a bit early, prematurely. Remember, Jason said it first.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, I think really that's it for questions that I could think of. And really, if you have anything exiting that you want to say, that you want to get off your chest, that even if you want to swear a little bit more, just a message that you want to have.
So it's yours.
No, honestly, like, thank you guys for doing what you're doing to like uplift artists who are also on the rise. So like, I think that's something that's so special and that we need more of, is like, how can we collaborate so we can all rise together instead of, you know, people being in this business just for themselves. So I think that's really awesome what you guys are both doing. And yeah, it's been so much fun talking to you guys.
It's been fun talking to you and getting to know you too, Caroline.
Hi, everyone. This is Caroline Sky coming at you live from the heart on The Love of It.